Hey guys, welcome to another podcast. Today I am speaking with Steven Mulligan from Number Krunchers, and he is an awesome guy when it comes to hospitality, and it's exactly why I've got him on today's podcast. So for you guys who are maybe thinking about running a restaurant, do run a restaurant, and want to know, just have an interest about how a restaurant works in a business sense and profitability, this is a podcast for you, and I reckon you've got to get in and watch it. And guys, I gotta say, I've said in the podcast a few times, special thanks to the Carrying Bar Inn for letting us record that podcast there. But also, it's really special because Steven isn't from Sydney, he's actually from Hobart. So whilst on his trip here in Sydney, exploring and talking with clients that he's got in New South Wales, I thought, hey, you know what? We've got to get him on the Profit Generator podcast. So here he is, let's get into it.
If we're not growing, you're not growing.
Hey guys, another special podcast we got today. We actually were on location down here at the Carrying Bar Inn, and the reason we've chosen the Carrying Bar Inn is because we've got this guy here. We've got a hospitality expert. His name's Steven Mulligan, and Steven is another Profit First advisor, but the reason he's here is, I would say you are a hospitality guy. You know your shit when it comes to hospitality. You know where hospitality businesses do not make money, and that's why I thought you'd have on here. So your business, just to get it out there, make sure I've got everything out there, Number Krunchers is the name of the business.
That's right. Thanks, Nate. Thanks for having me. I'm a hospitality consultant. That's what we specialise in. Our virtual bookkeeping team, they take care of everything. So my mission is to make the industry profitable and to help them, because I come from the background being in an accounting firm, but also running a restaurant. I know that it's really difficult and it might look easy. Everyone has the dream of opening a restaurant themselves because they get carried away with the front of house, but behind the scenes it's shit. It can go to shit if you don't have the right systems in place.
I'm going to start today by saying, well, hey, there's this really good film back in 2002. It is a completely underrated film. It's called Dirty Deeds. It's got Brian Brown in it and a few other notable characters. And also had
Joel Edgerton, wasn't it?
Joel Edgerton, yeah. And then she's got the short hair. What's her name?
I can't remember.
Yeah, but she's an amazing actress as well.
Yes,
she was.
right.
But the context of this here is we've got this character Darcy, and he comes back from the war, and it's set in, like, I think it's the 60s, and Brian Brown plays this mobster. But this guy who comes back, it's actually his nephew, his name's Darcy, and he wants to go into opening a restaurant. And he says, whilst he's overseas, he goes, well, those Yank soldiers, they told me about these new types of restaurants they got over there, and he's referring to pizzas, right?
Yes.
So you imagine pizza wasn't out here in the 50s or anything like that. But this is the point that I want to hone down. And Brian Brown says, bloody mugs game. Restaurants, you're up at 5 in the morning, you're getting the food, and you're still there till 1 in the morning. Mugs game. So today's podcast is all about how can you make the restaurant game not a mug game.
That's right.
Yeah. Before we do that though, can I just quickly say one thing?
Yes.
I just want to thank the Carrying Bar Inn, Rob the manager down here, Matt who I spoke to yesterday, and also Reese the manager who's in charge, because Rob's currently over in the UK having a great old time on holiday. So I just want to mention, and the staff here, they've been really friendly and accommodating us here at 10 in the morning.
Good.
Yeah, but anyway, so not a mugs game.
Also, before we get on, I'd like to thank Nathan for doing this. This is a journey for me because I'm from Tassie, Launceston.
As you see, he hasn't got the scar there.
Actually, I have got 2 scars. I had 3 heads that were being chopped off, and I got the orthopaedic boots because we walk funny down there. So we get all those jokes aside, but thanks very much.
That's all right.
It's a bit of an education getting here, but it was really great.
But the mugs game, so we've talked about this quite a few times in our travels together.
Yeah.
We see it as well. If a client comes to me and says, hey, I want to set up a cafe, a restaurant, or want to buy one, the piece of advice, it's one word, don't. And it's because, like, the margins are so tight. And I think as well, if we look at maybe the evolution of the last 20 years. If you go back to 20 years ago, even like 30 years back, credit cards had a point system. So anyone in business, they would be putting their transaction on a card.
Yeah,
right? But then as time's gone along, individuals have got credit cards because they want to go on the same point system.
Yeah.
So that was sort of evolving and happening. But now we've moved into a space where cash is no longer king, really. Like, people don't carry around cash.
No.
You only carry around maybe a few notes because you just want to have the convenience of having some money on you. So with that basis, I guess what a lot of people in hospitality, they would do is that they would collect that cash stuff, and that's how they made up that extra margin, because then you wouldn't have to pay GST, you wouldn't have to pay tax.
That's right.
So that's eliminated pretty much now. And a lot of people aren't receiving as much cash.
No.
So someone in hospitality now, what do they do?
Well, That's right. What do they do? Because that's where it all shows up. They might do some things through the till, increase the tips, surcharge on the square and all that sort of thing, which can be filtered through to somewhere else in their accounting system. But basically, it is what it is. So they haven't got the margins are slim, but like you said, it's a mug's game. Well, it's only a mug's game actually if you don't do the research in the first place.
Right.
A lot of people have the passion and the dream and they get carried away with the whole thing. They don't do their research, they don't know what it's like to set up a business, they forget it. Because I've been there where chefs have come to us and said, they've set up something. Well, that's okay, but then they find out that running a business is different to cooking in a kitchen. A lot different.
But that's even the same with anyone who goes from a trade or a skill.
Yep.
They have that skill, but then running a business, like no one teaches you how to be a business owner.
No, that's right. And really, the government or someone should actually say, before you go into business, you need to do a 6-week crash course on what it is to run a business. You need your permits, you need alcohol licenses, all those sort of things. Besides, and doing the accounting part of it, it's a big ask really, and lots of people have come to us because they're lost. So besides the money situation about the saying, where's the money going to? Because it moves so fast. This industry, more than any other industry, has so many spinning wheels and stuff like that, carry so many hats because there's so much going, and it's going so fast that money goes flying out the door.
Yep.
Let alone the opportunities of theft.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about money because FPOS has stopped that sort of thing, but we've seen where food and all sorts of things can, anyway. There's lots of things going on, so they need to have proper systems and beware of all the going on.
Yeah.
So, and I'm just going to circle back where you said about the cash scenario. Years ago, when it was more cash than FPOS, people actually had better control of their money than they have now. Because, and that's what I'm talking about, just profit first, money management, we call it in our business. Years ago, as I said to them, your parents would have everything in envelopes. So your father would go down to the pub and have his grog, but he could never ever take anything from the rent envelope because mum would have that there.
Yep.
We'd have our school fees in another envelope. Everything was very well structured. So they had more control and clarity over the money than everybody does now. So profit first actually comes back to that principle, and our clients just love it because it does give them that control.
I mean, just going back to like the way I sort of look at business,
Yep.
I would love to see that once you get an ABN,
Yep.
or even if you set up a company, you're enforced to go into some sort of course. And
Yes.
with AI and technology and the way we're going, it wouldn't be that hard, in my opinion, that ASIC could basically develop some sort of course where they know that you're there doing it and that you've got to get a pass result.
Yes.
And then the next thing I would say is, look, and it'd probably be less work for liquidators that are out there.
Oh,
And I've got some great friends that are liquidators.
Yeah.
But I would love to see that you get to a certain point where if you haven't lodged your stuff, what happens automatically is that your ABN is cancelled.
That's right.
And I think the flow-on effect with that would be is that your insurance, you need to have an ABN to be in business, and then if you don't have an ABN, there would be a connection to the insurance going, well, you can't be insured now. A lot of people look at this in business and going, oh, but that's not fair. Well, you wait till you're a creditor and you've given a whole lot of money to someone who's going out of business, and then you're only getting cents on the dollar of what they owe you. So if they owe you, say, $5,000, you might only get 500 of that. So I'd love to be able to put a stop to that. Unfortunately, I don't want to be a nanny state. I don't want to be in a position where we are forcing people, like it's like they're visiting the school principal, there's a whole lot of rules. But for some people, they just have no foundations, to have no real control. And the only way they can get themselves in control is by stuff like this.
I fully agree. I mean, a lot of people, it's an overwhelming thing when you think about starting a business. You know, the hospitality part of it, creating the whole experience behind the scenes, it's huge. Then they come to us because they need the guidance with everything else. Let alone, I've had some come to us and they haven't had insurance. So basic things like workers' comp.
Well, yeah. So workers' comp here in New South Wales, when we do our work, one of our procedures is we actually check to see that they have a workers' comp policy. There's a website where you can go and see, and it's like, oh, you don't have it. Now, sometimes it might be a little bit of a, oh, I didn't think about that, even though like every time a client sets up a company, we tell them. But even if they're a new client coming in, they might not have it. But also you want to make sure you're lodging those reports regularly to say what your current income is.
Yes.
Because if you're under-reporting, if you have an employee have an accident, not covered, then you're personally liable.
Well, I've got a company that we're helping because they're being audited. So you've got to do wage declarations that the percentage is levied for workers' comp. So they're comparing the payroll, what was declared on the profit loss versus what was declared to them.
Yep.
So you need to be really switched on with these things. So that's where our companies come in. We take the overwhelm away from the industry by taking care of everything. Because as I said to them, I want them to work on the business and not in the business. We take care of all that stuff. We go through a checklist, usually, or I do. Because I come from the industry, I make sure they've got license permits, this, that and the other. And you can bet your balls they haven't got some of the things covered, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really important. People take it for granted. So they have the dream, they go into it, and the mate said this, that and the other. They get in there, yes, well, the money's gone. And besides doing the menus and having portion controls, because I go into all that, that's the thing.
Let's talk about 5 dumb things that if anyone's made it through this video and they're in hospitality or they're thinking about going to hospitality, they've made it this far, congratulations. We've obviously entertained you enough. But we've made it's a fast forward point, right? But tell me, 5 things that hospitality owners should be thinking about, 5 dumb things that they do that they should overcome to become more profitable.
First of all, menus are usually 9 times out of 10 too big. They want to offer the whole thing, you cannot do it. So that needs to be chopped down. Make sure that it's manageable. So chopping it down out means they can deliver it quickly. They will have less ingredients. The ingredients flow from one dish to the other in the menu, which decreases wastage.
Right.
Okay, so it's important to have a streamlined menu. Menu engineering is what I talk about a lot, and a lot of companies talk about it, but the thing is, you just need to get down to the nuts and bolts of it. Condensed menu, something that...
So, because the problem is if you have like a huge menu,
Yep,
the food's either getting thrown out
that's right.
or you're feeding your staff.
Also, you have to purchase more in. So that's another thing I talk about, and I had this out of another place. The supplier delivers every week. Okay, they're only down the road. So don't bulk buy on shit. I don't care what they say about discounts. Don't bulk buy. You need the money in your bank. So get what you need for the week, and that way it's always fresh and you're rotating and everything like that. Smaller menu means smaller purchasing of things. Also, while I'm on that, don't let the buyers talk you into anything, because they will.
This was a great story you shared me about the client with the wine.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Can you share that one? Because I love that story.
Well, actually, I'm losing my memory, mate.
Well, you did have some drinks in at a place like this.
I've seen before, and actually they're not in business now, because there was one that had everything. So I walked in there and I said, we're a hospitality consulting company and virtual bookkeeping, whatever the spiel was. Oh, he goes like, it'd be nice to talk to someone, because a lot of people also want to talk to people. It's lonely in a business. No one can relate to what you're going through.
I just know, like us accountants, we speak to each other.
Yeah, that's right.
Literally, we do speak to each other. We do hang out with each other. And restaurant, I mean, you should be hanging out with other restaurant owners as well to kind of get the feel for what's going on. And I think the big problem, we go back to one of the last steps, was that, and this is a big human problem in general, is that everyone tries to be something to everyone. You can't you can't please everyone. Whether you're in politics, you can't please everyone, right?
Yeah.
If you're a restaurant, you can't be serving every type of meal under the sun. You're better off being known for something as opposed to known for nothing.
That's right.
Right.
And see, it's like us. I came out of corporate accounting to start this business to give people accurate live data, accurate financials. But I'm not for everybody. I'm hospitality. That's my passion. That's where I get off on, is hospitality. I've worked in the industry, and that industry needs more help than any other industry, because I always say at the end of the day, you go to the pub for a beer, you go out for a meal, and that's your downtime. Your mental wellness is in the pub. But for the operator of the pub, with all the things that are going on, they need lots of help, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
So hang on, I forgot to say about the bar. This guy, this hotel, had everything. So I looked at behind the bar. He's only a small operator.
This is a small little restaurant.
Yeah, restaurant. Looked at the bar and said, gee, you've got a lot of wines, and we had all these ports, and we were having a night out. We're into the port stage drinking, I think. So I said, I want a grandfather port. I said, do you think that you've actually got too much there? And he goes, oh, I've got to have them because everyone comes in and wants. I said, who's everyone? How many people do you get on average how many people come into your establishment? He goes, oh, well, we're getting a few. I said, well, the thing is, I can just look behind the bar and I'd say you've got about 25 grand's worth of stock there. Unless that's turning over.
Because the big lesson in business is that every dollar needs to make money. Now, that is money, like, it's just like you put money in the bank, you expect interest back, right?
That's right.
It's the same as business. Like, everything you put into it, whether it's physical, like actual money, or your labour, which is your sweat, tears and pain and all the other stuff you do, mate, and that could be even, say, for example, missing time with your family, right? You want a return on those two components. And I guess if you've got 25 grand of stuff that just never turns over, you just got a very nice wall of crap that no one's going to drink.
That's right.
And particularly as well, you've got to remember your bourbons, your scotches, your ports are not going to go off, right?
No,
but it's still sitting there,
it's
not making money.
Invested.
Right? It could make you money.
That's right.
But like things like, you think about white wine. White wine's got a shelf life of about, 3 years?
Yeah, that's right.
Or even champagne. Like, I've popped open some of these and tried some, and it was like vinegar.
That's right, because they've only got 3 or 4 days shelf life once it's open.
But even if it's sitting on a shelf unopened, like, it's still got a limited time. So if you imagine this guy had bought a whole lot of white wine, how much trouble would he be in? Like, he would just be throwing bottles away. And then when you throw bottles away, then you got to actually pay for someone to transport that stuff away, like with garbage.
Yeah, but it's like lots of industries, overstocking is a big problem, and then what happens at the end of the day? Do you have to flog it off at cost to realise some cash, in the placement? The food, that's the same thing. So I just had a conversation with one of our clients recently down the coast, and we're doing a video there shortly about negotiating with your suppliers. So we went through our system, and I said, have you negotiated a good deal? She goes, oh, she's been in business now for 4 years. I said, well, you need to on a regular basis. I suggest every quarter, okay? Have a good conversation with them. After our meeting, she was on the phone. So we also roll out hospitality software, management software. Besides the point of that, you still need to get on the phone and say, right, whatever. Also, another tip is when you're negotiating, say, well, these are what I buy, this is the ingredients. We buy X amount per year. Has more buying power than saying we purchase $3,000 worth of a certain product per month. If you say it's $36,000, I want a good price on that, this, that and the other. So that's a big tip to save money and increase profit. The black hole of hospitality, of course, is the kitchen food area, which I seriously look at first of all. Alcohol, as everyone knows, has probably triple the amount of profit with less effort. But then again, I won't go on with my pet thing about your front of house staff and upsell.
Well, actually, no, can we go on that? Because I think team is really important.
Yes.
And I want to share a story. Like if anyone knows me really well, my wife originally was from South Africa. And her family, obviously her parents are from South Africa.
Okay.
No, so now you're in the circle of knowledge. But like being South African, there was a South African restaurant that opened down here in the Shire, and they didn't last too long. And the reason was, I could tell straight away, there was things like they had some really great food options on the menu. Like, so my father-in-law was so keen to get this restaurant, right? And got there and it was like the biggest disappointment ever. And there was things like they had local wines from South Africa, and I don't know anything about what reds tell me, what is a bold Shiraz over in South Africa? You tell me what that is. Don't have to give me the answer. But like, the thing is, the waitress who I dealt with should have been able to answer that question. They had the wines there. They had all these wines from South Africa. Now, this is the thing, is it like your waitress or waiter is not just a person that brings out plates of food. They're sales staff. They're there to sell and give you an experience. And it's so true that you hear that like a restaurant might not be all that great as far as the food and the quality, but the other components are so good that you keep going back.
That's exactly
But you can have the best food and everything else falls down, you're still going to have a very hard time selling and doing what you're doing. So let's talk about how important team is.
Team is very important. First of all, you need to inspire your team so it flows from the top down, like that. You need, training's very important. So I don't care what they say, I don't know what's happened now, but a lot of people that work in hospitality don't seem to have the right background.
Well, it's even like kind of like McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
McDonald's used to be top grade training. It was the bee's knees of this is the systems, the processes. I go to Macca's now and I'm just like, it's just like I'm a second-rate citizen when I rock up. And just like, I'm an inconvenience coming here to buy your burgers. But yeah, it's depressing, isn't it?
But the thing is, if you're just looking at McDonald's, right, they might have gone backwards, but it shows you can make money out of food, okay? Because they have the systemised everything, the training's down packed. So a few years ago, I was asked to go to a hotel, have a look at the whole structure, go through the accounting system, We did mystery diner thing, and also to look at the whole flow of things. So when I did the presentation, which was live on site because I preferred doing that, the big thing was with the mystery diner, the people couldn't wait to get out the door because they were uncomfortable. Okay, so first of all, the staff weren't trained, so there was no pre-shift training. It wasn't sectioned, so you had a couple of people like saying, do you want a drink? And then somebody else says, do you want a drink? It looks ridiculous. So there was cross-connect, different problems were happening. Also, Tasmania's cold, heating. Well, I usually take people through it for a tour of their own establishment to have a look at what's going on because...
Well, a bit of a Gordon Ramsay thing, right? Do you swear as much as him?
Try not to. But I do. I did that with 3 people. We did the mystery diner thing. I said, now, right, let's go. Your mate, we're going in for a meal and a drink. So we start at the front door and we go in, and you don't have to hold hands or anything like that.
Yep.
But I say, come on, let's go in.
That's extra cost for you, the whole hands bit, is it?
That's extra. That's the extra fee.
Yeah.
There's no happy ending on it.
It's okay. But yeah.
Anyway, so come in, said to 2 of them at this establishment, how do you feel? And they looked at me like you're looking at me now. I think, what the fuck are you talking about? I said, how do you feel when I walk in the door? 2 of them said, I don't feel anything. I said, exactly, you don't, because we've walked in and there's nobody there ready to serve you. So your staff, for instance, there was 2 over there at the point of sale and another one at the coffee machine, this, that and the other. There was no one to say anything about come in, there was no menu board at the door or no welcoming. So I said, good, point number 1, you need to look at how, because it's all about feeling and emotion. People buy by emotion. How do you feel when you come in the door? Is it friendly? Is the music on? Is it too loud or is it...
Oh, absolutely. Like, yeah, you've got to feel comfortable. Like, I mean, if I go back to that, when it was in winter, it was so cold and there was a draft coming through and it wasn't welcoming. It wasn't like, oh, I want to stay longer. Oh, because the thing as well is it's like, you want them to go and eat, 3 courses.
Yes.
You want them to drink.
That's right.
And the thing is, it's like, if they're not comfortable, they'll stop at mains.
Yeah.
Because dessert in now as well, depending on what area you're in, like I know down here in the Sutherland Shire, very health conscious. Right, so people are kind of like, well, no, I've had enough. But people might say for a coffee, right, maybe the sweets. But to convince them, if you're already in a state where you're not comfortable, you don't want to be there, well, the likelihood is you're going to leave.
Yeah, straight out the door.
Cool. So you're already pushing shit up a hill because like people don't want to probably have dessert. So now it's kind of like, if you can get half the crowd to go, yeah, I'll do dessert, the other half will go, yeah, I'll do coffee or a tea or something, and stay around for a little bit longer because they're comfortable, they're catching up with friends. But if you feel uncomfortable, you're cold, you're either going to go home or you're going to go find another establishment.
That's right. So in the case of our mystery diner, so the diner was sitting, her and her friend, on a table near the window. Heating was not very good. Besides the thing with the service and asking silly questions and all that sort of thing, they couldn't wait to get out the door. The food was good, but also my another pet hate while I'm at it, and I'll say that now is, and I don't know if it happens here, but in Tasmania, they might greet you in the door, come in, sit down, after main course you've forgotten about. So the reason I was actually sent on that project at this hotel was the owner said to me, I want the spend per cover, which is per person, to increase by $15 a head. So after we did the mystery diner, I said, well, I'm going to tell you the bad news is how you're going now, you'll never ever get that extra $15 a head because you do what everyone else is doing lately. After main course, we're forgotten about. So the day that I was there to start everything, I sat there for a meal. Then after the main course, where is everybody? I wanted another glass of beer because I love my beer. I wanted coffee and I wanted dessert. So we could have spent another $20 or $30. No one around. There were no apologies when we went up to pay the bill. They didn't care about anything. So you see, there's a whole lot of things going on there. There's lack of training, no one inspiring the team to do better.
Yep.
So sometimes they talk about even things to inspire them. Might be we have competitions for the week. give movie tickets out for the person that sells the most.
Yeah.
All sorts of incentives.
Because if you kind of buy those sort of things like gift cards, you can most likely deduct them as a tax deduction as well. So, you know...
Good on you, mate. Come here with a tax
Sorry, the tax, always like the tax side. Yeah, like, I mean, those incentives actually help. And particularly if you think about... I mean, hospitality's got a lot of young staff, right?
Yes.
So younger staff, they've got a lot of ample time. So someone maybe my age is in their 40s, has got kids, probably not as incentivized to go, a movie ticket, right?
Yeah.
But someone who's in their 20s, they're dating, going out, they're young, don't have any responsibilities like with children or family, they kind of go, actually, that's not that's great.
So, and usually what I do is, my thing is, I usually try and inspire our clients to think of ideas. I don't necessarily have solutions. I'm only here to be a sounding board, to partner with them in their business and say, right, the bookkeeping's taken care of, your tax is taken care of.
Here with me, yep.
You don't need to worry about any of that sort of shit. All we need to do now is talk about here. So look at this here. So what improvements can there be? Okay, so is there too much stock going on here? Is everything clean, tidy, whatever like that? But the thing is, that's what I do, and that's what I like doing.
Well, I know Rob, who manages this hotel here.
Yeah.
He's been managing it now, I think, for about 3 years. Yeah. And when he came in, it was like a bit of a dive, and also a lot of people didn't come and didn't have a great reputation. But he's turned that around a lot by doing a lot of those incentives and what you're talking about, but also very community minded. He's gone out and gone to be part of the community. Like, what can we do extra to then make this a place where staff want to turn up, but then also people feel comfortable to come
That's right.
be here as well.
And you see, there's all sorts of things that inspire a team. You know what I mean? With our team, for instance, it's the thing appreciation. So, and thanks, Nathan.
No, it's right. It's right. Well, a lot of people actually do like just a tap on the shoulder. Yeah, thanks, you did a great job today.
That's right.
Yeah, so...
And acknowledgement as an individual and respect goes a long way. Instead of someone screaming and shouting orders and have you cleared that day up like that, well, that does no good to anybody.
Yeah, because if you watch those TV shows like with Gordon Ramsay, I mean, that's all drama, right?
Oh, that's right. That's only scripted for the thing like
I'm sure he's not a complete prick all the time.
No, that's right.
You know, but yes, so... All right, cool. So I think we've covered off, like, really team. That's so important. I want to cover one last thing.
Yes, no, I need to cover before I forget, because I'm older than you and I'll forget.
Yeah, go.
Right, okay. Talking about wines, I'm just going to talk to another client, and she is really good on local wines, okay? So I said, hopefully all your wines are local. She said, yes. And I said, it's nice to train the staff to talk.
Yep.
Okay, so what I usually do when I go to a venue, I look at their average spend per head, or they call it per cover, so you can easily get that figure. And some people have said to me, because the weather's been bad, it's gone down. I said, well, that's not how it works. The thing is, it doesn't matter if it's 5 people comes in the establishment or 10, the average spend should be the same. If they're getting the same experience and preferably going up, if they're getting the same service and everything like that, they still should buy their main course with all their add-ons. So it should be, say, $25, $30, $35 per head. It should say steady. If you've got someone that's good at upsell, that's when it goes up. Now, I've had one establishment where it had been dropped for 2 months, and they said, that's because of the weather. I said, no, something else is happening here. What was it? They cut down their front of house staff because we talked about KPIs. And I said, well, this is the thing, we talk about them, they're a guide. They cut down the staff front of house so people weren't getting served properly. So you need proper service in the front of house, upsell, like with these wines that I've gone off track with. Local wine, don't go into the full.
But we'd also, I think as well, a little bit different when you're in a CBD and city, but like if you're in a country town, like particularly like you being down in Tasmania, it's that community sort of discussion. So especially being a tourist coming in, but then also if the community can work together and you can get your produce from the local farmer,
yes, that's right,
and then you can get your wine from a few different local wineries and stuff like that. You're not going to get everything from them.
No,
but if you do that, and then you can sell a story, because it's like it's inspiring, it's emotion, it's got feeling to it.
Wine comes from the winery down the road, so and so.
And look, you know what? And then you could say, hey, you really like that wine.
Yep.
Oh, right. Now, if you then think about further about it, you could then have an arrangement, and this is where you've got to just be a bit more savvy. you've got to be a lot more savvy about actually what you want and actually asking. So I would say to you that if you're in a town and there's a winery down the road, a few different wineries, what you should be doing is they taste the wine, they pair it with the food, right? That's the experience. But the next thing you do is you say, hey, what we're going to do is, here's a coupon for you to go down the winery. You go visit there tomorrow, right? And I tell you what, if you do this, you get, say, 5% off or something like that. Now, what you want to do on the back end of that is that you want to have a referral relationship with that with that winery.
See what I've inspired you to do?
Oh mate, I've always known about this. But you have a referral relationship because then you go, well, hey, for everything you sell, it might be that, hey, it maybe it's a discount on your next lot of purchase, or maybe it's just the 5% of whatever they buy. And now it would be an honesty system.
Yes.
Right?
That's right.
But this is a way for you then to make more money. You've got to think about going, well, how can you make more revenue? What comes in, what goes out.
That's right. You're right. And it might seem common sense to you, but
you only know what you know.
That's correct. And that's why it's our job to bring those conversations into the establishment.
I think the problem is, it's like, oh, I'm not allowed to do that. You've got to start thinking outside the square. You've got to start thinking about what's different. What can you honestly do that is just going to make you thrive? There's no rules in how you run a restaurant, right? Now, I mean, there's probably some principles behind what you do, but you just got to reach for the stars.
And at the end of the day, like, we always go through the whole thing with your money system and look at your costs and everything else, and into food costings, all the black hole part of it. But at the end of the day, after a process of elimination, if you come back to the top end and look, right, what's coming in through the till, which is another thing about balancing the bloody thing, because some people haven't.
That's a story for another day.
But what comes in from the till, we have to increase revenue, because all the other factors, we've gone through all that and seen, right, okay, at the end of the day, we can't save any money through the expenses. We've streamlined the menu, we've streamlined this, that and the other. Our wage percentage to sales is in line with industry standards, and otherwise we can't lower it any further.
I mean, if you say, for example, we'll go back to like that restaurant thing, like you look at Woolworths, right?
Yep.
Now, Woolworths makes their revenue in a lot of different ways. If you just look at purely just the grocery side of things. Okay, so I don't know if a lot of our viewers know, a lot of people out there know that every shelf has a price, right? So it depends what you're selling, right? If you're selling products that like confectionery, that are typically geared towards children, well, what's going to happen is they're going to be lower end, right? So that is going to be a more expensive shelf to be on. So that means that, hey, when we buy your stuff, it's actually, we're going to want it cheaper. Right? So then they make a better margin. All you need to do is, you don't need to reinvent the wheel. People are so afraid about copying. Don't go thinking about, I'm going to create something new. Go and look at someone else's doing and recreate it. Get over this idea that I'm going to be told that I'm copying whatever. See what someone else is doing that's really successful and replicate it.
You know, that reminds me of another story. Like feedback, we always get feedback through our mystery diner experience. It's important to the owner, so he knows what to do and change. Feedback for everything is very important. So if you're putting product out there, we'll just take, say, spirits or wines, whatever, going to BWS or wherever they may be, it always pays for you to get somebody to go and see where it is put on the shelf. Okay, because I know a case where, okay, he was paying top dollar. He's a gin manufacturer. Tasmanian gin's one of my favourite drops, but anyway. So he was paying top dollar for his product to be on the prime location, so you walk in the checkout. So he sent a couple of mates around, because you don't have to spend a fortune, and a couple of mates went round and they said, holy shit. And he goes, what? He said, do you know your gin is right over in the corner down the bottom shelf?
Where no one fucking goes.
And he goes,
and he's paying for that.
Joking. He said, I'm paying those pricks X amount.
But because it could be something as simple as maybe one of the other staff members has just put it in the wrong spot, or miscommunication. It could be anything.
That's right.
But you got to keep these people honest. But
so it's the same with everything. Feedback to make changes, ringing up your suppliers for your best food costs, minimising inventory on the shelves, and look at all of that, and then the promotional ideas, staff incentives for everyone to do better, to on-sell, to always, when you're moving around the floor looking, Stephen's beer's nearly empty. Do you want another beer? Yes. And also, if you're sitting down for a meal, you go, do you feel like entree? And you'll probably go, no, not really. And you're sure? And then they should say, well, you're sure we've got...
Because we've really got this. And I've tried this. Actually, when I finished my university degree, I went and worked in one of my mate's butcher shops. And John used to say, my mate John used to go, oh geez, if only I could have you here all the time, you're so good. Because the way I sold, and I think the lesson I would say to anyone that's young and starting their career, whatever, before you go and do that, go and get some sort of job where you've got to communicate with people, some sort of sales job, right?
Yep.
And I mean, I did that when I was younger. I was a paper boy, and so I had to do a lot of talking. I built that skill up. But when I was working in John's butcher shop, the way I used to actually sell, I would take someone from one side of the cabinet to the other. And I remember he said this thing where if you spend $60, you got 1 dozen of eggs for free. And so what I would do, take them through the cabinet, they'd start with a few different things, and I'd go, oh, well, you're close to $60 and you get these eggs for free. Now the thing was that they might have been $10 off. They would have been logically better to spend $3 on the eggs, buy the eggs and then go away. So anyway, I did this 3 times. I got them up to like over $180 of meat.
That's all right.
And John's gone, oh, this is why he said, I want you to come back. He said, you've got to teach these kids this thing. And I was like, this is where you're going wrong, John. You've got to teach these kids this stuff. Because I would say to John, tell me, what's osso buco? You know, living in a typical Australian family, osso buco.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh fuck, all right, we'll talk about that later. But I grew up in one of those families, and you might be in this same era, but like when we had fish at home, it was fish fingers. Right? Yeah, so we were very fancy. It was, you know, it was, if we were having hot chips, it was always a potato in the plate. It was either hot chips or mashed potato with free veg and meat. But the thing was, was that I would talk to people. So I said, John, what's osso buco? How do you use this? It's a really tough meat that you can slow cook. Being winter, and I never use this, right? But I said, hey, I've done this before, and this is how I've done it, blah, blah. I tell them a story about how I've used this particular product, this meat. And you tell them this story about, oh, that'd be really great for a dinner with the family. I just throw those lines out there. But I took this person right through the cabinet from left to round, round right, the other side, you know, over $180. And they got 3 lots of eggs. They left happy.
Yeah, that's really good.
And she's like, oh, I think I've spent enough. Oh, yeah, it's all right. And she'll probably put something in the freezer. She probably would have. I mean, hopefully it didn't go off. But, like, you captured her right there. Now, she would have still needed meat anyway. She might have gone to Woolworths during the week instead of the local butcher shop. But he was like, it's great if I could do that again and again. And it's like, well, the way we sell is through stories and experiences.
That's right.
And there's emotion there. And I think we've tapped on this a few times. And I think then really the number one takeaway for anyone, it's about really that emotional part, and I think that would be a key part of it.
It doesn't matter with any business. It's like what you said, you don't know what you don't know. So you come to people like us, for instance. Nathan has all the tax and accounting accounted for, and we do the bookkeeping, whatever, and I'm the one that goes and talks to people in their business. So we have the conversations and go through the whole thing, and every industry needs that, and you need to tag up with other people. So I've actually linked up with a couple of our clients to say, let's have a meeting in so-and-so's restaurant because they're a client of ours and I want you to meet them because they're using the same kitchen software that we roll out, that we recommend, and I think you'll learn a lot. And they said, shit, that's really good. Yes, so that creates that connection, conversations. Both those businesses are benefit from.
There's that many people out there. Like if you somehow took on 10% of the market, you'd be fucked. But even if I took on 1% of the market, or the restaurant took on 1% of the market in the area, they'd be stuffed. They wouldn't be able to handle it, right? So it's got to get over this idea of your competition. You know, help each other.
Yes, that's right.
Collaborate, 100%. The one thing I just want to also before I finish up on, the big problem I think that I'm seeing out there is, when we start all our careers, we go and do TAFE or university.
That's right.
We learn that. And then for some reason we go and open businesses, right? But one thing that never ever happens is that we go, well, we're going to pay someone to do a university course. We're going to go pay someone to do TAFE. But then we never go, oh, let's invest in ourselves in how to be a business owner, because no one teaches how to be a business owner.
No, they don't.
So I think the big takeaway is that if you want to be in business, you need to somehow invest, whether it's your time, money, into the right people around you, the right course, the right something. And that could even be just starting out with, if you don't have a lot of cash, go on YouTube. I mean, this this is free to go and watch on YouTube, Spotify, anything else like that, right?
Aren't we?
Yeah, but always. Tony Robbins says that it's like a pot plant, a plant, a tree. Like if you don't water it, it's going to die. So you don't feed your mind information, your brain's going to be dead too. You're going to die. We could chat all day.
Thanks, mate.
We're going to, being from Tassie, I'm going to take him down to Cronulla this afternoon. I think we're going to maybe either check out the Pines or Bobby's or possibly Sea Level, one of the great restaurants down there. And these are not restaurants you will pick apart. They are fine dining, they are great.
That's good.
But mate, it's been fantastic having you on here in this podcast. I've been wanting to get you on here to share your hospitality information. But guys, if you're in hospitality and you're looking to get to your business to actually be a business that serves you and a business that you want to be proud of, that you can as well one day sell and retire from the profits and not be one of these mugs in hospitality. We're going to throw Steve's details on the podcast here. I recommend that you get in touch with him, have a chat, and we work together as well. And I can do the accounting bit, the coaching. I would even say, because we've collaborated with a few clients on the hospitality side of things, but when it comes to hospitality, he knows his shit. So I let him do that, and I'm not going to fake it. But I love hospitality.
Make a good team, mate, don't
we do. But look, guys, recommend him. We'll put the details there. Steve, thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy.
And once again as well, I just want to thank Karen Bahrain for letting us be here. Normally we do this just from my office, but just have this background here.
That's
and
right.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And if you've got any questions, throw them down there. What's your takeaway from today? What have you learnt? And what are you going to change?
Don't be afraid to reach out. We're here.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thanks guys.
Cheers.